I'm Adam Booth and you're watching Sporting Icons.
Now, I was very, very impressed when I looked at the resume of Joe Joyce. When I sat down, I thought about it. I thought, well, he's only had 12 professional fights. And already he's got a very, very impressive resume for the fact that he's only got 12 professional fights. For example, he's won the Commonwealth heavyweight title twice. First time against Leroy Thomas, and then of course past weekend against Dan Dubois. He's won the British title, he's won the European title, again both of those titles were against Dan Dubois. He's won a bunch of trinket titles like the WBA Gold, a WBO International, a WBA International as well, or Intercontinental. Either way, trinket titles. In fact, I'm surprised that the WBC Silver title wasn't on the line. The WBC Silver belt was the belt that Dillian Whyte had for the longest time before he then got the interim World Heavyweight title. Dan Dubois was a WBC Silver champion when he defeated, I want to say, Richard Lartey. Don't hold me to that one, but I'm pretty sure it was. But anyway, that belt wasn't on the line. But nonetheless, it's a very, very impressive belt collection already for Joe Joyce. His resume as well for opponents, you go Kaladze, that was a decent opponent. Again, let's remember, it's only 12 fights in. So Kaladze, when he fought him in America on a PBC show, if I remember rightly, that was a relatively impressive win. Ian Lewison on his professional debut. In fact, I interviewed Ian Lewison a few days before that fight as well. He fought Leroy Thomas. Not a brilliant name, but still, only 12 fights in. Leroy Thomas is within that pack as well. Bermain Stavern, former WBC heavyweight world champion. Alexander Ustinov. Brian Jennings. Brian Jennings, of course, is a former world heavyweight title challenger when he fought Vladimir Klitschko, where he lost on points. And of course, this past weekend against Neo from the Matrix, the chosen one, in Daniel Dubois. 12 fights in. That is very, very impressive. In fact, that's more than Anthony Joshua done at 12 fights in. That's more than Dillian Whyte done at 12 fights in. That's more than Tyson Fury had done at 12 fights in. That's very, very impressive. Very, very impressive. And I know that what's next for Joe Joyce, we know Joe Joyce and Frank Warren, they would love nothing more than the WBO World Heavyweight title to become vacant. Obviously, if Joshua fights Fury and the belt can't be on the line because Alexander Usyk is the mandatory, so if he insists on that world title fight, then the belt will become vacant and then Usyk has to fight somebody. Could it be Joe Joyce? Potentially. I mean, before the Dan Dubois fight, Joe Joyce, he was ranked, was it number 9 or number 7 or something like that within WBO. Dan Dubois was ranked number 2. He shouldn't have been ranked number 2, but again, Frank Warren fighter, much like Joe Joyce is, WBO, they do tend to give favouritism to Frank Warren, as they do with Bob Arum and that as well. But just because he beat Dan Dubois doesn't mean he takes his position. It doesn't quite work that way. It's a point system, in theory at least anyway. So he could move up a couple of places, but currently I would presume it would be Usyk versus Joseph Parker. But if not, and it turns out that it will be Joe Joyce, first and foremost, that would be a rematch from the amateurs. So of course that would be very interesting. And of course for a world heavyweight title to be on the line as well. Of course, we'd watch it even if there was no world title on the line. But if there is, of course, we're going to watch it, and me, as a very biased Brit, as much as I'm a huge fan of Alexander Usyk, I will want Joe Joyce to win. Of course I would. But if that doesn't transpire, and if that's not going to be the situation where the belt doesn't become vacant, or even if it does, it's not going to be Usyk versus Joe Joyce, other names around that I'd like to see Joe Joyce fight. I think he's ready for the likes of, say, a Derek Chisora. That would be an interesting one. Again, you'd have to make Joe Joyce a heavy favourite. I'd like to see Joe Joyce take on, say, a Deontay Wilder. You'd watch that, wouldn't you? I'd watch that. Take on a Luis Ortiz. Take on the loser of Dillian Whyte versus Alexander Povetkin. I don't think he's done enough yet to warrant the winner. But hey, if he does fight the winner, I'd watch it. Wouldn't you? Of course you would. By the way, it's hopefully the winner will be Dillian Whyte, right? Other names around, there's so many. There's so many that I'd like to see him fight. I'd watch him take on Charles Martin. I'd watch him take on Dominic Brazil. I'd watch him take on whoever. I mean, I've watched all of Joe Joyce's fights anyway. But the point is, I want to see him take on those kind of people. Those kind of people. But if it does turn out to be Alexander Usyk, then great, why not? I don't want to be hearing about no rematch. Frank Warren, I know he's already mentioned it once before. I don't want to see no rematch between Joe Joyce and Dan Dubois, or at least not yet. Maybe in about 10 fights time, maybe. But right now, I don't need to see the rematch. For me, I want to see Joe Joyce go take on some of these other guys that are around. Go fight Manuel Charr for the WBA regular world heavyweight title. In fact, he'd absolutely annihilate Manuel Charr. In fact, I think most good heavyweights would. But that's my point. I'd like to see him take on those kind of guys. But if I had to pick one that I'd like to see him fight, probably Luis Ortiz, to be fair. I'd like to see how he gets on with a southpaw. Again, that's good preparation for him, should he at some point have that rematch against Alexander Usyk, who of course is another southpaw. Anyway, that's my thoughts on it. Point is, very, very impressive resume from Joe Joyce. Yes, he is 35 years old. Of course, he does need to be fast-tracked from a certain point of view. But 12 fights in, pretty impressive, don't you think? Drop your thoughts below. Click thumbs up, subscribe. Catch you all on the next video.